Hey y'all, it's Diane with Shawcraft One in my old barn door, and I have come today to share with you I finally finished my Farm Digi Kit. It's called Farming Charm, and so I wanted to show you the digital kit and some other items that I have that are going to be going into my shop today. I'm going to be having an announcement video coming soon to give y'all some new information of some new adventures that I'm going to be doing. And this will kind of be linked with that a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit. I know that you guys know that I said on my live video, when we did the live video on New Year's Eve, that so I don't know if it was the live video or if it was a video before that, but I was thinking about making some changes as far as using my Etsy shop or, trying some other platforms. And so, that will come into play here in just a few minutes as well. My digitals will stay on Etsy completely for now, unless I find something better. So the digital you'll be able to find on Etsy. I made a journal to show you what you can do with the digital, and I think y'all are going to love this. I love it. I think it turned out super cute. So anyway, let's just get started, and I'll give you information along the way as we go. So the digital kit is called Farming Charm. I don't know if I told you that already. I think I did. Maybe. I don't know. There are 10 journal pages, and then 10 sheets of ephemera to go along with it. So I think it turned out super cute. So I'm just going to show you the pages. This is one of them. And I think I'm going to have to hold it down kind of like that. Now, I've printed these on cardstock, but in the journal, you will see that I've printed them on plain copy paper. So you'll get to see what they look like on both of those mediums. So here's one of them. Here's the second page, or not really the second, it's another page. One of the 10. We'll put it like that. Here's another one. Show you that one. Here's another one, and I love, love, love this one. This is one of my favorite ones. Of course, I like that other collaged one too. Then there's this one. There's this one, because I wanted to add some florally stuff in there as well. Give you a variety to work with. And then there's this one. This one is kind of a collage of some mixed media stuff that I had been working on. And so I just scanned them in, and I took each one of them and just did kind of a collage on the page. So you can have the roosters and the butterflies and, all the fun stuff, the barbed wire, things like that can kind of go along with the farm style. Then, of course, you have to have strawberries. I love the strawberries. So you have the strawberries on the denim, like it's kind of like a dingy denim background with the coffee stains and things like that. So there's that one. And then there's this one with the sweet little girl and her chicks. And then on the, like when you fold it in, when you fold it in half, you have the little girl in the tree with her cow. And it's on vintage ledger. And I did some layering in there as well. And then you have the checked pattern with the strawberry plant and the sunflower. So that is the last one of the backgrounds. Okay, and then you have the ephemera. And again, there are 10 sheets of the ephemera. So on the first sheet, you have 2 envelopes, and these are with the fancy flaps, the decorative flaps. So you have those 2. And again, I used my collaged, my mixed media pieces that I just kind of collaged onto the envelopes. And then you have this sheet of, now you can use these as page tabs, or you can use them as little tucks. I used them as tucks in my little journal that I've made there. And so you have a couple with roosters, you have a cow in this one, the little girl with their chicks in this one. So it just kind of took some snippets from the background pages and added them in so that everything kind of matches like you know, with the strawberries with this rooster and the sunflowers with this rooster. So just kind of tried to match everything together. And then on this page, you get 3 large size tags. Let me see if I can get you some measurements on these tags. Okay, they are 3 by about 5 1/4, maybe a little longer. So, and of course you can, you know, resize the tags and things and make them whatever size you want them. And then down here at the bottom, I did just some fun little rooster, a pig, and a cow down there for you to do as cutouts. And here's another page with tags. These are my collaged tags. And then I did a strip of tickets with some roosters and a little pig who's so stinking cute. And then again, the pig is here on this tag. You have the roosters here, and these are some tags that I had done some mixed media on. I actually made these tags and scanned them in. And then these ticket strips here with the strawberry plant on them. You have a page of 4 pockets, so you can use these as decorative pockets, and I'll show you how I used them in the journal. Then you have a page of 8 little, these are smaller size journaling cards. The top 4 are library cards, and the bottom 4 are like seed packs. And then you have a page that has some Welltail tags. Welltail tabs. Y'all know what I mean. And then some of my strips. I like to put the strips on there because you can use them as tucks and things like that in your journals, or belly bands, or however you want to use those. So I'll bring it up closer and let you see the Welltail tabs. Okay, and then you have some scripture cards. These are journaling cards that I've added in and put scriptures on. And then the last page are just regular tipped envelopes for you to be able to cut out and use in your journal. And again, you can resize these and make them whatever size you want. So that is the new Farming Charm kit that is in my Etsy shop. So run over and grab it if you love it. So now I want to show you the journal that I've made using the Farming Charm journal or digital kit, so you can kind of see good ways to use it. Okay, so in the journal, or with the journal, I've added a little decoration on the front. Now the cover, I think this may be the first actual soft cover journal that I've ever made and put in my, you know, made to sell or whatever. I generally do hardcover journals, but I wanted to play with these and see, you know, what I could do with them. These are my the bag collages that I did in a video a couple months ago or whatever, where I took the paper bag and I collaged on it. And so I just cut a piece of that bag and made it the journal cover. And then I just added the lace in for the tie closure. And I put lace on the spine just as decoration, but also it reinforces it somewhat. So let me go ahead and untie it here if I can find. I put a lot of lace on this so that it'll give you room to grow in the journal. So you can see the collage work that I did. I stitched all the way around, and on the inside I stitched this beautiful farm style fabric to it. Okay. So on the front and the back, you can see the cool farm style fabric. And I did not put pockets on the front, or not on the front, but on the inside of the covers at all, because I thought the fabric was too pretty to cover it up. So I didn't want to cover up that pretty fabric. So this journal has lots and lots of laces and ribbons and vintage ruffles throughout on the edges of the pages. And so we'll just begin the flip through. This is one of the first pages, or the first page of the kit that I've used in here. And here you can see one of the Welltail tabs. And here's one of the pockets. So I made them so that, you know, they could kind of fit into a standard size journal. You know, because we generally do, you know, between 4 and 6 inches, you know, is generally what our page measures. Okay, so inside the journal, I'm going to go ahead and do a full flip through of the journal because this will be going in my eBay shop. That's one of the changes that I'm going to be sharing with you. It's going to be something that is a trial and error type of thing. So I'm just trying it. I'm not moving all my stuff over to eBay or anything like that. I'm just trying it to see, you know, how it will go. So I'm going to list this one on eBay. So that's where you'll find it. And I'll put the link in the video below. So it's real easy for you to get to it, find it, and everything. You still have all the same payment options, all that good stuff. No major changes. It's just a different platform. Okay, so you'll be able to find this one on my eBay. All right, so in the front pocket here, I have the little, y'all know I don't fussy cut very well at all, so I just made it a square, so that gives you options. And I just inked around the edges and made a cute little square. You can use this to decorate in your journal anywhere you want to. Then you have one of these sweet, sweet vintage cards my precious Brooke sent to me. I love it. Here's one of the scripture cards. I put a lot of vintage ephemera in this journal. So you have one of these little vintage account bill, a little ticket that I did some collage work on and stitched it on. And then this is a vintage piece that I got in some Happy Mail. It's just kind of like, you know, for extra journaling. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck these goodies back into this pocket. Alright, and then I used lots of vintage pages in here with the kit. So this was actually from one of those little books that my sweet friend Kathy had sent me. These were children's, kind of not really workbooks, but they were just a little thin. This is actually the cover from it. So that's what this is from, and I love the colors in it. I believe these were from the 60s, 50s or 60s, something like that. Have some coffee dyed parchment paper, some lines paper, and then here is one of the tickets from the kit, and I just tucked in a little chicken memo sheet, and then another one of those plain cards with the barn on it. And then on the back side here is one of the little pieces that I said you can use as tabs or tucks. And I just kind of inked around the edges of it because I don't fussy cut very well. So when you ink it, it kind of hides your flaws, so to speak. So tucked in, you have a doily, sweet little doily. One of the scripture cards from the kit. This is a vintage plain card. And then this is a little tiny seed pack, and I've tucked in, this is one of those little bitty tiny tags, you know. So I've just tucked that in there like a little tag. This is real vintage ledger paper from 1903, so that folds out on both sides. You have some Braille paper. This is another page from the kit, and again, all of these pages I've just printed on plain 20-pound copy paper, just cheap copy paper from Walmart. So you can see they look just as well as they do on, let's just do a comparison. This is the 110-pound cardstock that I printed these out on. So let's just find the same page and compare. So you really can't tell a whole lot of difference. It is a little more vibrant on this paper, on the cardstock, than it is on the copy paper. And I'll kind of hold it up so you can see a little better. So you really can't tell much difference, just maybe a little bit more vivid on the cardstock. Okay? So let me go ahead and put these back over here. So you have the ruffle, and then you have a dangle here with the little cowboy boot. You have one of my little clusters here, and then some vintage lined paper, and just a little tag. This tag's actually from one of my collage kits, or my sewing kit. I can't remember which one. So it just kind of shows you, I did mix in some things from my other digital kits to decorate with in this, just to kind of show you that you can mix and match the digital kits. You don't have to have all just one digital kit. in a journal. Here's some lined paper with a little sticky note. Here is some vintage music paper, and this is actually the bottom of one of the strips that I do, and I had that left over from a belly band that I made, so I just used it to decorate on that fold-in piece of the vintage music. This is another one of the journal pages, the one with the denim and the coffee stain and the strawberries. And at the top you have an altered paper clip with a little dangle, because on the back side I added a vintage flashcard, and I just kind of made it into a little tag. And then there's the little cow cut out and just a little piece of ephemera there. This is a vintage can label, so you'll see the rest of it on the other side of the signature. There's another one of the Welltail tabs and some lined paper. This is vintage wallpaper that I got from a sweet friend who sent it to me in Happy Mail, and it was the coolest wallpaper. I love the way the back side is. It's textured, and I think this one is from Ward's, so that shows you how old it is. I think this is from, I believe it's from the 50s. And you have some ledger paper here, and then this is actually vintage newspaper that I've put this on, and so I just made a page out of it. So you have a tip in here, and I made a little tab at the top to hold in your tip in. I made a little pocket here with some goodies in there, and then this is a very vintage. I was going to use this as a page in the journal, but when I folded it, I did have some, you know, crinkling, and so I thought it would be better used in collage. So I've added that in, so you can use that in a collage. And then on the back side, I used another one of those pieces as a tuck. So they make cute little tucks. And then I added in all kinds of goodies. You have a little tag and a vintage phone receipt. You have a vintage label. And then I think there's a couple of pieces. Maybe it's just one piece. Maybe it's just thick. And then a cute little tiny seed pack for you to play with. Some craft colored lines paper there. This is one of the background pages from the kit with the little girl and her chicks. And then on the back side, this is from my vintage, I think it's called Vintage Ribbon and Scans. So I just used it to make a pocket with here. And inside the pocket, I've tucked in a tag for you, vintage bingo piece, and a couple of vintage receipts. I'll fold this one out so you can see it better. There, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but it's very, very aged. We'll just say that, very aged. So tucked some goodies in there for you. Lines paper here, and I put a altered paper clip with the little pig up there at the top for you. This is some vintage ledger, and on the back side it's lined. This is from a vintage math book, and it's in, I believe it's German. So super cool. Got you some of that vintage black lace. I'm loving adding the black laces into my journals. Here I've used one of those at the top as a top tuck instead of you know, like a bottom tuck. And then you have a little recipe card and a vintage Kismet scorecard. So again, I've put lots and lots of vintage goodies in this journal. I was trying to see if I could find a date. Okay, 1965 is the date on this one. So just tucked you some goodies up in there to play with. Some vintage lines. This is like accounting sheets. So I think it came from an accounting book. This is a vintage, what book did this come out of? I think it was from a magazine, actually. Like one of those really old magazines that people used to order for their kids, and it would tell stories in the magazine. Then there's one of your tabs, vintage wallpaper. I'm going to try and go in a little faster because we're already at almost 20 minutes. So in this is one of my vintage ribbon scans as well. And I've added in one of the journaling cards from the kit, a vintage bingo card, and then a little memo sheet. I put lots of memo sheets in my journal because I like to give you extra little sheets just to grab them out and make a list, or, you know, whatever you need. This is the center of the first signature. This is a 2-signature journal, and I believe it's 200 pages. I'm not positive on that. I will count them and put them in the eBay listing when I list it. This, again, is from my vintage ribbon scans. And then I put you a vintage playing card, some vintage stationery. It has the envelope with it. And then a vintage little account ledger piece there. That one's folded down. Fix it. There's the other side of that vintage wallpaper. Here's the other side of that vintage children's book or little magazine. And I just used one of my vintage ribbon scans to make a little decoration on here. And this, hang on, I got a cough. Okay, sorry. This is that German tape roll that I had at the live. I did a live sale, and I sold all that I had, but I love using it in collage. I just made a little collage here. This is a tea bag and a little rooster stamp. Some of that lined paper with a sticky note on there. This is one of the envelopes, and I made them kind of smaller. I just left them the size, the actual size that they are in the kit, so you can see what they look like, but you can increase them or decrease them and make them larger or smaller. So this is one of the ones with the decorative flap. Vintage lined ledger. This is one of the scripture pages. And then here I made a pocket with one of my clusters and added some goodies in there. You have a Norman Rockwell card on a paper clip. I didn't want it falling down in the pocket. Then you have one of my paper bag collage tags. This is some vintage lined paper and a vintage receipt back there in the back of that pocket. The other side of the digital kit page. This is the other side of that newspaper page, and it folds open this way, so you can make another pocket there if you want to, but it also folds out this way. This is some vintage memo paper that I absolutely fell in love with, and when one of my artists who sends me journals for the consignment booth had one of these in one of her journals, and I fell in love with it. And so she was so sweet and sent me some. So thank you so much. My ledger paper, that's the other side of that Ward's vintage wallpaper. Have the lace here. There's the other side of that can label, that vintage can label. This is one of my strips that's in the kit, and so I just made a belly band with it. And inside you get a recipe card, coffee dyed guest check. This is just some lined paper for journaling, and a coffee dyed index card in there. So lots of extra things that you can pull in and out and journal on them or make lists or whatever. This is the back side of the strawberry page from the digital kit. This is from my vintage ribbon scans. I love the ducks with the hearts, and I love the green, so I just added that in there for decoration. Here's one of the envelopes from the kit, and that's the back side. And I gave you some of that German tape roll. I just put a little extra in there for a little goodie for you. This is one of the little tab things that you can use as a tuck, and I've just tucked in one of the seed packs from the kit and a recipe card, a little extra little, you can use this as a bookmark or a tag. And then you have some, these are so cute. I think there's 3 of these in here. I have found these. They're just little, like little stationery pieces. But I love what it says on there, and the little horses are adorable. And I thought it was super cute to add into a little farm journal. So you have some lace here, and a little dangle here. I put this beautiful cameo dangle on that lace. There's the other side of the checked digital page, braille paper. This is that vintage ledger paper. Here's another one of the pockets from the kit, and then I tucked in, and you can see you can tuck a lot of stuff into these pockets. So I got a little alterations tag here, some of the green vintage lined memo sheets. This just kind of came out of a little notebook. It was very old. And then here, this is like a things to do. It came out of a vintage. It was from the 70s. Little, it had like one side of it had grocery lists, and the other side of it had this things to do little sheets in there. And you have a fresh apple pie vintage Betty Crocker recipe from the 70s. 1971's the copyright on that one. And then you have one of the scripture cards from the kit and one of those playing cards for altering. On the back side, I used the tickets. I used 2 of the tickets to make a little tuck there. And so you have this first day issue envelope. It doesn't have anything in it, but I just think these are gorgeous. And then a little memo sheet. And I don't know if you can tell, but it has little butterflies on it. Lined paper. This is I love how it still had, this was actually, I believe, from the library pocket that they originally had in this little book. And then here, I've made belly bands from some of my vintage ribbon scans. And I'm not going to pull this out, but it's a whole little book full of really aged and vintage pages that you can use in your journals, or you can use in collage, or whatever you want to do with it. But it's a little bit difficult to pull it in and out, so I'm just going to leave it. And then that's the end of the first signature. This is one of my favorite pages in the digital kit as well, because you get such a cool variety of different things. Some vintage ledger there, you know, the little animals, seed pack here. This is actually a scan from a catalog that I have that I love. It's very vintage, and it's from a hardware store in Ellijay, Georgia from, I believe, the 60s. So then this is the first page of the second signature. This is one of the pages in the kit. And then I made a tuck here with a couple of vintage postcards tucked under there for you. Love this page with the little barn and the tractor and the little farmers, and the little boy fishing. It's like a vintage workbook page. You have more of that vintage ledger page from the early 1900s. I made another tuck here. And then you have a couple of playing cards. This one's vintage. This is just from a game, but it's got the little horse on it. This is just some cool paper that I stuck in there because I like the color of it. And you can make collage with it. And then one of those flashcards. More Braille paper. This is another page from the kit. And I did some stenciling on some of them. This is a, I believe this is a, I think it's from basketball, like a little scorecard for basketball. Parchment paper, and then you have the lined paper with your tab there. You have, this is a vintage ribbon scan here, and then one of the scripture cards, some lined paper. These are just little pages from a very, very old, early 1900s primer. And so I thought they would be cool to use in collage. So I stuck a couple of pages in there. And then you have some memo paper in there as well. I stuffed a lot of stuff in these pockets, y'all. Okay, let me see if I can get this back in there. There we go. Here is another one of the pockets from the kit. And I tucked in, you have a rooster playing card, which I absolutely love. It's a vintage playing card. I gave you some tea. And then a recipe card, vintage bingo card, and then another one of those horse stationery pieces. So stinking cute. I just love those. Alright, let me see if I can get all these back in here. Hang on. Okay, so you have some of this vintage ledger paper, some lined craft paper. This is another page from the digital kit, and I added some red ribbon there. The red eyelet ribbon I love. Some stenciling there. Another little tuck with the strawberry tickets. And you have chicken playing card. I love that. This is a vintage S&H green stamp little booklet where you would put your green stamps in there. And then a coffee dyed index card. So I just tuck those in. This is one of my vintage ribbon scans. And I tucked in, this is a teeny tiny vintage label that one of my sweet friends shared with me. You have one of those little vocabulary cards. This is a vintage grandma's recipe that I thought was super cool. And another one. These came in the same lot. And then some lined journaling paper there for you as well. Let me just pull that up so whoever gets the journal can see that it's there. This is some more of that vintage wallpaper from the, I think it was Awards. Some of them were from Wards and some of them were from Sears. So, but anyways, very cool. I love the texture. Lined paper. This is another one of the background pages from the kit. Another tuck from the kit. And inside the tuck, I gave you one of my little clusters. And these are some vintage handwritten notes from a young man who, I believe it's written in Polish. Some of them are. And then some of them are in English. But I just thought they were really, really cool. And they'll be cool in collages. And then you have a recipe card tucked in the back there. Lined paper, a horse coloring book page, and then on the back is a cow, which I love. Have a little ruffle there. And then, okay, this came from a children's activities little magazine, same as in the first signature. Here's one of the envelopes. I think I put little things in the envelopes, but I'm not going to take them off because y'all know I'll fight with them to get them back on. So this is vintage grid paper, vintage wallpaper, lined paper. Did some stenciling on that one, and this is the center of your second signature with a page from the kit. And then this is one of my vintage ribbon scans, and I just made a pocket out of a piece of it. This is one of those vintage ledgers, not ledgers, labels, vintage label. This is a vintage little I think it's really cool. It's from the 80s, so it is considered vintage, unfortunately, because that makes me feel old. But a little handwriting, little index card there. And then this is from a little, these are old, these are vintage too. So again, I put lots of vintage items in here. And here is another one of those vintage little tiny labels that I added in there. Have a little cluster here, and I tucked in one of the journaling cards from the kit and a little recipe card. Okay, here's the shopping list that's from that vintage memo thing that I told you that I got with that to-do list. So here's the other side of it with the shopping list. And I made a little tuck out of one of the journaling cards from the kit, and then you have a couple of vintage plain cards tucked in there. This is another one of the strips from the kit, and I just made a belly band with it. And inside the belly band, I tucked in the cutest. This is so stinking cute. It has the envelope with it, but it's a vintage greeting card. And I just thought it was adorable with the milk bottles. I thought it went okay with the farm thing, even though it's congratulating them on their new baby. But it's kind of embossed, so it's textured, and then you open it up. I just think that's so stinking cute. So I loved that with the little milk bottles for the farm journal. Some more lace here, and you have the little cowboy hat dangle on that lace. Here's a tip-in with lace and fabric. Here I had this one left over, so I just tucked it in there for you so you can use it anywhere you want to in the journal. And then this is vintage stationery. It's folded in half, so it unfolds, and here's the envelope that goes with it. Another one of these tucks. Here is a recipe card, one of the seed pack journal cards from the kit, and then another, the last one of those little horse memo sheets. I love them. So cute. Here's one of the tabs from the kit, and this is a page from the kit. There's the other side of that vintage wallpaper. Here's another one of the vintage ribbon scans. And then inside, I made it a pocket, and I tucked in, you have the little rooster, the little vintage children's flashcard. This is a vintage, I just love how aged it is. I thought it would be super neat in collages. And then just a vintage little card there for extra journaling. On the back side, I used one of the tickets as a little tuck. And then I made you a little floating pocket out of one of the the avocado dyed coffee filters. Inside, I've tucked in one of the library cards, journaling cards from the kit, and then another little tag here on the top. So you can actually move this around in the journal and use it anywhere you want to. Here's another one of the pockets from the kit with a little seed pack from the kit, vintage playing card, another one of those vintage shopping lists, and another one of the vintage. These were actually from a school teacher, and so she had taught school back in the 50s, I believe. So those are fairly old. Here's the other side of that other one of the pages from the kit. There's the other side of that lined ledger paper. I just tucked in some another memo page underneath. This is one of the envelopes from the kit, and then I tucked in another one of those. She's just too stinking cute. I mean, you have to have multiples of her. Here's another pocket that I made from my vintage ribbon scans. And then I just loved him. I thought he was so adorable. Even though he's purple, but he's got a little cowboy hat on, I just think he's too cute. So I added him in. This is a vintage recipe, handwritten. I love that. Very aged. And then you have some S&H green stamps. And then I thought these were funny, so I added them in just as a little comic relief. It's a little to-do list. And then you have the vintage ribbon here. This is another page from the digital kit. Some of that Braille paper. The other side of that vintage ledger. Here's another one of the Welltail tabs. And then here I used another one of the seed packs to make a tuck. And you have one of the scripture cards. This really cool vintage rooster. I guess I don't know if it's a flashcard or if it's from a game. And then this is just a piece that I had left over from the vintage ribbon scans. So I thought I would add that in there so you can use it anywhere you want to in the journal. And that is the last page of the journal. So this journal will be listed on my Etsy shop. So I'll leave the links, all the links that you need to easily find it. So run over and grab it while you can. I was going to add in the other things that I'm going to be putting in the shop. I have some blank journals that are using digital kits. So I have 3 of these. I'm going to put these in there as well. So I will do a separate video and show you all the other goodies that I'll be putting in the shop for you guys to grab up if you want to. So just look out for the next video. And thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please hit that like button and subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. We have lots of fun on this channel and lots of crafting videos, lots of fun stuff, and some new things to come. So be looking out for that video as well. So thanks for watching. I hope y'all have a great day. Big hugs.